Indian television, an on-ground report coming in from Balochistan. What's really happening in Gwadar as Pakistan continues with its brutal assault? We here at Republic TV get you full details of what's really happening in Balochistan as the protests are only intensifying. That's on This Is Exclusive, and also we're given to understand that in a short while from now the IDF will be joining us as to whether at all this is the end of Hamas. What's the future as far as the conflict between Israel and Iran is concerned? All this and much more on This Is Exclusive.
Presenting by Royal Global University. Northeast can't wait. Padho, kuch bano.
ये जो तुम इतनी वफा दिखाते हो सनम, डर है ये कोई नई दगा तो नहीं पूरे देश में पिछड़ा दलित आदिवासी समाज को? राहुल गांधी जी के इरादों पर शंका है।
Spat overcast census continues. BJP ups the ante against Rahul, says Congress has always ostracized backward classes. Death toll crosses 291 mark in Wayanad. Rescue operations continue on war footing. Priyanka and Rahul reach after 72 hours. No end to Iran versus Israel conflict. Israel confirms Hamas military chief eliminated, shares video of the attack.
Today, the Honorable Allahabad High Court has rejected the application of Order 7 Rule 11 filed by Shahi Idgah Masjid, and the Honorable High Court has held that all these 18 suits are not barred by Places of Worship Act, Waqf Act, Limitation Act, Order 23 Rule 3A, as well as the Specific Relief Act, and the next date of hearing is 12th of August.
Big win for Hindu side as Allahabad High Court rejects Muslim side plea challenging suits of Hindu worshippers and deity. समाजवादी पार्टी
अयोध्या में एक माइनर लड़की के साथ गैंगरेप की घटना सामने आई है। समाजवादी पार्टी का नगर अध्यक्ष सम्मिलित है। इस मामले में समाजवादी पार्टी ने अब तक कोई एक्शन लिया?
मुझे इस घटना के बारे में पता नहीं है। इस बात का हम संज्ञान लेंगे और जो आप कह रहे हैं।
Samajwadi Party link emerges to Ayodhya gang rape horror, but Tabra says not aware of incident. Swapnil Kosale wins bronze, completes India's medal hat-trick at Paris Olympics 2024 as shooting win continues.
Presenting by Royal Global University. Northeast can't wait. Padho, kuch bano.
Amidst the raging Israel-Gaza war, Israel has seen two massive success. While on the one they have already taken full responsibility, that's for the elimination of military chief of the Hamas. On the other, just 24 hours before, we've seen the killing of the political wing leader of the Hamas. That is something that Israel says that they are not taking any cognizance of, rather they have taken no responsibility. But what's in sight right now? Remember, when the war began, Israelis had made it abundantly clear that there is no question of having any sort of negotiation with the Hamas. And elimination of Hamas was the single point objective agenda of the Israelis. Now with the elimination of the military leader as well as the political wing leader, what's inside? Before we get into the details of what perhaps could really take place, with the condemnation really coming in, particularly from the Middle East countries, and tension escalating with Iran already sending out a strong warning that there will be a retaliation. Before that, let's now take you through the key developments that have really taken place over the last few weeks. The leaders of Hamas who have been eliminated so far. Let's take you through the Ahmed al-Gandour. That's a military leader who has been at the forefront of carrying out several attacks in Israel. In fact, was seen as one of the topmost commanders, leader of the Northern Brigade. While Rajab is the second, while Rajab is the battalion commander who has been eliminated, then you have Rafat Salman, that's the third commander who has been eliminated so far. Rafat Salman is also another senior Hamas commander. Of course, with the two others that we're talking about is Mohammed Deif. Now, Mohammed Deif, ladies and gentlemen, why it is very important and significant, it's only because back in 1994, when the suicide attacks that actually took place and also the kidnapping, remember, the relationship between Israel and Hamas had already seen the downslide, and Mohammed Deif was behind it. He is also the person who has orchestrated the massacre that took place on 7th of October. That's why the killing of Mohammed Deif becomes extremely significant and a new chapter, many would say, in the war between Israel and Gaza. The final is Ismail Haniyeh, but remember, both of them, Mohammed Deif and Ismail Haniyeh, did not really see eye to eye on several issues. But remember, he was the man who was part of the negotiations that were taking place in Qatar with the Israeli government. He was eliminated in Iran. Now, that has also resulted in a situation where there's been a massive backlash. Let's quickly take you through a detailed report which will give you a sense of what's really happening right now in Israel and the diplomatic responses that have really come in from the other countries.
The IDF has confirmed the death of Hamas's military wing chief, Mohammed Deif. This comes after he was killed in a deadly airstrike which targeted terrorist bases in Gaza. On the 13th of July, the Israeli military allegedly hit a compound in Mawasi to the west of Khan Yunis, which claimed 90 lives and injured 300, according to Gaza health officials. At the time, there had been no immediate confirmation that Deif was killed. The Israeli military, following an intelligence assessment, confirmed that Deif was indeed eliminated in the strike. This comes a day after a senior Hamas leader, Ismail Haniyeh, was assassinated in Iran. Ayatollah Khomeini led the funeral after Haniyeh's death. On one hand, the head of the political wing of Hamas, on the other, the head of military wing, both have been killed. And now the diplomatic row over this seems to be escalating. Streets of Iran have erupted in anger. Iran's supreme leader has vowed revenge against Israel. As per the statement issued on his official website, the Iranian supreme leader said that he considers revenge as Iran's duty. Within no time, China came down heavily on the death of the political wing's chief.
军事手段和滥用武力不是解决问题的出路，只会导致更大的危机。中东局势持续恶化的直接原因在于加沙停火止战一直无法得到落实。我们敦促所有各方顺应国际社会压倒性共识。
The United States categorically denied any involvement in these incidents.
This is something we were not aware of or involved in. It's very hard to speculate, and I've learned over many years never to speculate on the impact one event may have on something else. So I can't tell you what this means. I can tell you that the imperative of getting a ceasefire, the importance that that has for everyone remains.
Notably, Ayman Nofal, a senior commander in Hamas, was also killed in an Israeli airstrike on the 17th of October last year. The big question that emerges now is, where does the Hamas stand now? Is the Hamas finally nearing its demise?
Do we really see an insight to the war that's taking place in Gaza? Joining us on this broadcast is Major General Amos Yadlin. He's been the head of Israel Defense Intelligence. Major General Yadlin, thank you very much for joining us on Republic TV. Let me straight away begin by asking you, when the war began, you've had Benjamin Netanyahu laying out the objectives of it, saying that elimination of the Hamas leadership is the ultimate goal. Can we say now, with the military wing leader as well as a political wing leader being eliminated, do we see an end sight? Major General Yadlin, can you just unmute yourself?
Yes. Good evening. Destroying Hamas was the goal. However, eliminating all the elements of Hamas is a long way. When Israel decided to revenge and to remove Hamas as a threat after the horrible massacre of the 7th of October, there were three goals. One, that the military wing of Hamas, the terror army that they have created, will be destroyed. This already have been done, completed. They don't have any army now. They have a group of terrorists that are still in Gaza, but it's not a full-scale army as it was until the 7th of October. Then you have to eliminate them as the governors of Gaza. So for all practical purpose, they are not controlling Gaza, they are not the government, and they know that they cannot continue to do it. If they want to rebuild Gaza, nobody will give them the money to do it if Hamas will stay as the government of Gaza. Then Israel voted, and Israel decided that every leader of Hamas that participated in planning and execution of the massacre of the 7th of October, which was killing, raping, burning, beheading Israelis, 900 innocent people, all of them will be eliminated, will be assassinated. And the list is long. It's longer than you just presented. And the highlights, yes, are Haniyeh, who was celebrating on the 7th of October, celebrating the killing, and he is now on the 300 days of the war, he's gone, and Muhammad Deif, the head of the military wing of Hamas. He was targeted 2 weeks ago, and today we got the final confirmation. And it is very important to continue and to eliminate each one of them, from the commanders to
General
the last
Yadlin, General Yadlin, with the elimination of Haniyeh as well as Mohammed Deif, wouldn't you admit that the leadership of Hamas has been completely wiped out, and perhaps it is time for bringing an end to the war that's taking place in Gaza?
The end to the war could have been months ago if Hamas, and you haven't mentioned, will release the hostages. Hamas took 240 Israelis, children, girls, females, elderly. They tortured them, they killed them, and they're still holding 115 hostages alive or dead. They can end the war in the minute that they will bring them back. And by the way, there is one leader that was not targeted yet. His name is Sinwar. And as long as Sinwar is taking the decisions for Hamas, unfortunately, the war will be over. If it is up to Israel, the war can be over immediately when he agrees to bring back the hostages.
General Yadlin, thank you very much for joining us on This Is Exclusive and putting this into perspective, as many would say that while there is growing pressure coming in from the West in particular to perhaps bring an end to the war, or at least looking forward to a ceasefire, situation certainly remains quite volatile, keeping in mind Iran's retaliatory message that has also been sent across. Well, shifting focus now to the other big story that we are getting to you tonight, coming in from Balochistan. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time, we're getting to you a ground report from Balochistan. Why this is crucial. Starting on 27th of July, thousands of Balochis stormed into Gwadar, which happens to be a port city. Remember, this port city is extremely crucial for Pakistan and particularly the CPEC. But what has really happened over the last few days is that brutal assault of the Pakistani army has been unleashed. Balochis who have been targeted, women and children who have been targeted by the Pakistani army. In fact, the protests have entered the 5th day. Balochis are hoping that the international community will rise up and perhaps look into this entire matter. There are certain organizations which have already pulled up Pakistan, but remember, Pakistan continues with their brutal assault on the Balochis. Take a look at this exclusive report coming in from Balochistan.
Balochistan is once again on the boil. Protests have turned violent. A Pakistani flag being taken down. This comes after the Baloch civil society under the leadership of Baloch Yakjehti Committee announced the Raji Muchi, which is a Baloch national gathering. This was held on the 28th of July in Gwadar. The motive of the Baloch national gathering in Gwadar was to grab the international attention towards the Baloch genocide. The day-to-day ethnic cleansing of Baloch civilians in Pakistan-occupied Balochistan seems to be on the rise. Occupational forces of Pakistan have launched a brutal onslaught. The Baloch National Gathering was organized on 28 July 2024 in the port city of Gwadar, where China and Pakistan are illegally building roads and infrastructure under the exploitation project of CPEC. The invading forces of Pakistan used force to stop the people of Pakistan-occupied Balochistan from participating. On 27 July, 12 civilians were shot by Pakistani occupational forces in Mustang and 7 people were injured. 2 were also killed in Gwadar in the same day by the Rogue Army of Pakistan. On 28 July, the Pakistan Army surrounded the event venue and opened indiscriminate fire on peaceful situation in vigil of the Baloch masses. Major cities like Quetta, Karachi, Turbat and Gwadar experienced the brunt of the brutal Pakistani crackdown. Pakistan forces and ISI arrested 3 key leaders of the BYC. The leaders were later released on July 31st. The BYC leader Sikbat Abdul Haq Baloch addressed protesters from the sit-in camp in Padizir, Gwadar. The sit-in protest against the Baloch crackdown on the Baloch Raja Muchi has continued for the last 2 days. The Free Balochistan movement has announced to organize protests in Europe on 3rd of August. The internet service was completely shut down and expression of speech was totally censored. The communication system of Balochistan and its people are almost cut off for the last 72 hours. As the Free Baloch movement plans protests in Europe, will global pressure compel a change in Pakistan's crackdown on Baloch civilians?
Well, in fact, let's now take you through the latest images that have been accessed by Republic TV. This image that you see right now on your screens, which we're going to put out in a short while from now, as Pakistani army targets women and children. Pakistani flag has now been brought down in Gwadar. This is an image that has been accessed by Republic TV, which gives you a sense of what's really happening. What we are also going to do in a short while from now, take you through images coming in from Quetta, Mustang, Turbat, Gwadar, as well as Kolu. These are the places where the protests are essentially taking place. Take a look at this. This is the latest image that we have accessed of the protest that took place yesterday. Starting from 27th of July, there have been back-to-back protests that are taking place in various cities of Balochistan, and particularly with the Pakistani army carrying out a brutal crackdown. Let me also try and see if we can bring in my colleague and our senior executive editor, Abhishek Kapoor, who's joining us on this broadcast while we stay with these exclusive images that have been accessed. Abhishek, these are images that have been exclusively accessed by Republic TV, which gives us a sense of what's really happening in Balochistan. While there isn't much of an international focus on what's happening currently in Gwadar, it is of huge concern, keeping in mind how the Pakistani army is carrying out this brutal repression.
Absolutely, Shawan. This is serious, and this almost amounts to martial law. Not that it does not happen in Pakistan often, but in this case, it seems to be very persistent when it comes to Balochistan. Remember, the insurgency is not new. Pakistan has been exploiting Balochistan's mineral resources, and now there is this added dimension of China getting into the picture through the China-Pakistan economic corridor. Almost all of it like a debt to Pakistan, and that's the reason why the Baloch are specifically targeting the Gwadar port, because that's where the CPEC, which starts in Kashgar, ends, and the Balochis believe that this is going to scale up the kind of exploitation of Balochistan that has been happening by the Pakistani state, as also the deep state. Remember, the Chagai nuclear tests were carried out, and that happened to be in Balochistan, and essentially Pakistan uses Balochistan province as its backyard, as its dump yard, and for extraction of natural resources without equitable development benefits going down to the masses, to the people of Balochistan. It's a different ethnic community, and there is an element of ethnic targeting also by the Pakistani state, which is essentially a Punjabi state. So all those sentiments really coming out. They had started this protest focusing on Gwadar, and obviously a very sensitive, touchy Pakistani state towards Chinese security concerns, getting back, blockading all the roads leading to Gwadar, and in this case militarily targeting the protesters. There has been some loss of life also, and Maharang Baloch, for example, the face of these protests that she has become, has called for international intervention. You rightly mentioned the world is not looking at it because West Asia continues to be hot, but at some stage maybe focus would need to come at the manner in which the Pakistani state is clamping down on Baloch protesters in Gwadar.
Well, thank you very much, Abhishek, for putting this into perspective. Remember, the Balochis have been saying that mineral-rich Balochistan is being exploited by Pakistan as well as China for their own self-interest, leaving the entire region completely impoverished. That is the reason why you've already seen 5 rebellion movements that have taken place in Balochistan in the last few years. Now, as Abhishek was also pointing out, another wave of protests that are taking place currently in Balochistan, which only means more trouble for the Pakistani administration, who've been trying to suppress this. That's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time with more exclusive stories.